Your Money, Your Life is officially 1 year old. So today I'm going to pull back the curtain on this year of the podcast, the business behind the scenes, the personal roller coasters, victories, defeats, all the things. So let's do this. Welcome back to the Your Money, Your Life podcast. I'm your host, Aimee Cerka. We are officially celebrating the Your Money, Your Life podcast being 1 year old, talking today about really kind of reflection on this year, lessons that I've learned, things that I want to make sure um, that I point out because I think they'll be beneficial to you. So, first off, I just love having the podcast. If you were in my world before the podcast was born, I used to do a video show called Money Mastery with Aimee every single week. So we had that for about a year before we launched the podcast. And I really enjoyed having the podcast. So many like great nuggets, great feedbacks. Like, really honestly, I wasn't even a huge podcast listener until about 6 months before launching the show, which is kind of ironic, right? But definitely making sure that Your Money, Your Life is here to stay because I love having it. And the feedback that I've gotten from y'all is that you love it as well. We relaunched Money Masters Inner Circle. It is now Money Masters Inner Circle Academy. That was kind of like a crazy experience. It was one of those things like, we realized this needed, or I realized this needed to be done, this needed to happen to almost put a little more structure to it. It's kind of give you the path. There was a lot of repetitiveness that I was teaching inside when it was strictly just the membership model, and it really wasn't serving everybody in the best way that it could. So that's definitely a more streamlined, direct process now. I take you through the exact path that you need to. I'm able to do more coaching and support. We've had more mindset breakthroughs since relaunching the Academy, which has been pretty freaking exciting. So if you don't know, Money Masters Inner Circle Academy now is a 12-month group coaching guided experience. Really like the best of both worlds because I do not take on a lot of private clients. So you can work with me inside the academy and we can really work closely together at almost like a no-brainer. It is a no-brainer pricing. And that's really where I want to keep things. So we relaunched the academy. I'm very excited about that. And part of that was like aligning my business and my life to work for where things are at. I mean, obviously, if you don't know, we had a baby in September. And we'll talk about that in a second. But there was things that I had to shift, things I had to prioritize. I have 4 children. I work from home. Um, we homeschool, and being able to shift things and prioritize things and manage my time more effectively, which we do talk about inside the academy. I give you my whole mastering time management and productivity like a boss course inside there. It's a module I've added for you. But really making things priorities. And even just like, I feel like I've talked about this several times, but opening the door to the possibility. Like, if there's something that you want to happen, I've done this with forest school for the kids, and now like I'm a leader at forest school and attending Bible study and having that church to plug into. It starts with opening the door to the possibility. If you believe that something won't happen, it's not possible for you, then you're right. Like, it's not going to change. And you just have to start with a question of like, how can I make this happen? And that's even a lot of the work that we do on Q&A calls. It's like helping people establish like what would they like to happen? What are they looking for? And then how can you make that happen? And it's not about like putting pressure on yourself. It's about opening your idea to the possibility and then just seeing what shows up, because stuff does show up and it can happen. And then of course, Natalie's birth was an experience. I mean, every birth is an experience, right? But we had planned a home birth, cash paid for a home birth. And at 42 weeks, she had not made her arrival yet. And I normally go late. So it wasn't like a surprise, but that was the latest that I have gone with any of my pregnancies. And I guess I'll put a quick notice disclaimer here. If there was some trauma with the birth, so if you need to skip over this part, okay? But we ended up that we transferred into the hospital to have a hospital birth instead. A baby looked fine, but my amniotic fluid level was getting a little low. So it was like, okay, it's time to have a baby. Ended up having an emergency C-section. She was fine for a good long while. We were laboring. We had broke my water. 3 hours later, we had to, her heart rate decelled in the middle of a transaction, in the middle of a contraction. And I was rushed back for an emergency C-section. So under general anesthesia. So my husband's not able to be in there. And then there was also complications with myself during that process. And we didn't have insurance. Well, we don't have insurance, I should say. So we are cash paying for all of that. And we're billed for all of that. And it wasn't until was talking with a coaching client later that realized what a big deal it is that I'm not worried about it. We've already gotten the bills in the mail. We've started taking care of it. I know how to do this, been here, done that. It's actually something I'm working on putting together for the academy because we've gone through several medical crises already. Like I know how to work with the hospital, set up the payment plans, what we have to do, what we don't have to do, what's a scare tactic, what's not a scare tactic, what resources are available. Like we're taking care of it. And honestly, it's not as expensive as people would think because they give you a discount when you're cash paying versus what the insurance is paying. Like the last bill that I got, what was that, last week? I think it was. The discount they give you for being a self-pay person is 50% because prices are so inflated. Like that is like what they can literally do. And that's before you do anything else. Like that's just the initial bill that they send you is 50% off. So it's also one of those things that hopefully by now you know that I don't preach get out of debt. You got to be debt free. You got to be debt free. So for me, the fact that we have more debt, it is what it is. We're still going. Yes, our net worth took a hit and that kind of sucks, but we're making up for it. We're still going to win. We're still moving forward. It's not a big deal because we are unstoppable in our finances. That's the whole goal, right? This episode of the Your Money, Your Life podcast is brought to you by the Money Roadmap. If you're tired of trying to figure out what you need to be successful in your finances, then this might be for you. The Money Roadmap will show you what vacation your finances need. So you'll know exactly what step you need to take next without taking a ton of time. Even if all of this feels out of your control, even if you feel overwhelmed with trying to make this work, and even if you feel like you're doing all the right things already and it's just not working. As you might have heard, I'm hosting the biggest sale we've ever had for Black Friday. This roadmap is just what you need to be prepared for the sale. Without having to stand in line at the store to grab your deal, you're going to be ready to save big when this sale goes live on Monday. Right now, all you need to do is go to aimeecerka.com/Black Friday, download the roadmap. And if you have any questions, come join me on Instagram this week at Aimee Cerka. I want to be helping you navigate which choice is right for you all week long. And of course, you missed that link, it'll be hanging out in the show notes. Back to the episode. To top it off, of course, the our fridge went out. She was 2 weeks old? Yeah, I think we had gotten home, she was like 2 weeks old, and we had a fridge go out. So when you have a C-section, like in general, you can't lift. Well, a lot of providers will say, even after you have like a baby in general, you're not supposed to lift things because of the wound that you have from the placenta and all those things. But it's the same, like it's definitely the case when you have a C-section. It's definitely the case when you have complications during your C-section, right? So we had a fridge go out, which was like crazy, trying to move stuff around when you can't really lift things. Thankfully, I have kids and I've had help, and that was great. But the reason that I want to mention this portion is things don't always show up in the way that we're expecting them to. Oftentimes we'll set a goal and we're like, I want to see $2,000 raise at work or $2,000 come in through the business. And it's like we get set on that, but then we like put blinders on and we miss things that come in from other ways. You know how many gift cards we received that it's still a monetary blessing because we can still use that. Things that we were given, like tangible gifts and like the fridge and gift cards and things that were given because people want to give and sow into us. If I had been set on how I was expecting things to show up, I would have missed it. And if you know, Natalie's middle name is Grace. And I was the one that picked that out because I feel the last year before the podcast launched, there was a lot of learning and accepting to have grace with myself. And I feel like I really focused in on embracing that over the last year as well. And that's been so crucial throughout the podcast. And gives, things don't always happen the way that we expect them to. So learning to ride those waves and not spending the time beating yourself up and having grace. That's why I tell clients to write down the 5 things that you're celebrating each and every day and finding those victories to celebrate instead of focusing on what we don't accomplish and learning to have that grace with ourselves. So that is really the key things that I wanted to touch on today on our anniversary episode, but I want to hear from you. So I want to know what you want to hear more of. If you are not getting text messages for me, I'm going to offer Q&A days. I used to do an Ask Me Anything on Thursdays on Instagram, but we're going to do that on like text. So my personal number, 817-969-4653. If you send the word question to that, and I'll put it in the show notes if you are driving and need to look at it later. If you send me the word question, I'll make sure that you get signed up. We're going to do regular Q&A days. I haven't decided how frequently yet, but it'll be at least once a month. You can ask me a question that is my number. We'll text back and forth and get you the answer, get you moving forward. Into momentum. Then of course, Black Friday is coming up. I've got special offers coming in, new programs being released, really cool deals. So if you're not already on the wait list, make sure to go to aimeecerka.com/Black Friday. I'm having a lot of fun with this, creating this roadmap so you can help figure out where you need to be, what you're missing to move forward. I'm having a lot of fun creating it. So I think it's going to be exciting. I want to hear from you. What do you want to hear more of? What would be helpful for you? Just making things a no-brainer. You can text it to me. Send me a message on Instagram at Aimee Cerka. I want to know, what kind of questions do you have? What kind of things are you looking for that would just make the podcast next level for you, so that you can create those unstoppable finances that you're looking for. So that is it for now. Until next week, we'll see you then. Thank you so much for listening to the Your Money, Your Life podcast. Wondering what's next? When you're ready, there are different levels of support that you can use on the path to creating unstoppable finances and your unstoppable life. After all, your finances are unique and your support should be too. Ultimately, we'll create a customized plan to ditch financial struggle for good that works for you, your goals, your priorities, your life. Go to workwithaimee.com to get started with one of our most popular programs, or you can book a Q&A call with me and we'll figure out what your next step should be.